Welcome back. We're down here on the side of the coast. We're about to take us a little hike. A place called Adams Beach. Now you're gonna see me make a playlist for this because once again this is in my hometown. So a lot of history in this little area. Two things here, let me make clear. When you hear me say I come across, I don't find anything. Other people provide me with information. I won't use their name because I hadn't got their permission. I will put some links to the stuff to kind of turn you on to them down in the bottom. So if you hear me say I found this, I don't necessarily mean I'm the one found it. I come across it or somebody sent it to me. All I'm doing is down here researching it, trying to go find the places. That's it. I'm not a historian. I'm not into disproving or proving anything. So there's two things that we know from historical record down here at Jonesville, also known as Adams Beach. According to the FSU Digital Archives, in 1862, Mr. Elias E. Blackburn began salt works here at this beach. Now, according to some genealogy stuff that's been done online and some records from the Florida Genealogy web compiled by a local individual, there is a belief, and it just depends on who you talk to, that these salt works that we're here, that we're going to look at, these salt works were raided by federal troops. Some people believe that, some people don't. From the stuff that's been dug up, I will post some links down there to some of it if I can find them. I do believe from some of the creeks, the way they talk about how shallow it was, they had to march for miles from the creeks to get in on each side, and the descriptions they gave. And some of the evidence that was found here years ago by me and my children with metal detectors, I do believe these salt works were raided at one time. I do believe they were destroyed. I do know that the same man that owned this, shortly after that, acquired some salt works that were further up the Taylor County coastline. So I don't know, but I believe that a lot of people have assessed that it was never destroyed because he kept showing profits and things coming in, even well after the war, until as the industry and the commerce boomed, couldn't keep up with the larger salt works. Anyhow, if you read those records, you'll find out about the independent rangers of Taylor County. There's a whole list of stuff they confiscated when they raided the salt works. If you look at that list, and if that is this area, which I do believe it is, you'll find it was quite a large sum. Just around the coastline, the Ezells had a contract building barrels. We also know that Captain James Faulkner's cow cavalry worked in this area. We know that cows were shipped out on this coastline. We know that beef in barrels and pork with salt were shipped out off of this coastline. That's what the blockaders were doing here, trying to shut that down. Whether there were slaves at this or not, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that more than one government official documented that in this area at the time that the salt works were in operation and the end of the Civil War, all through the Civil War, that the slave population here was less than 1/10%. So there were not a lot of slaves in this area. Now whether there were any on this salt works, I don't know the answer to that. We go on to the next thing being the resorts that were down here. One of the same individuals sent me some articles. I didn't put them on there because I didn't know if he had them copyrighted or wanted that, but I did get some of the information off of them. There was an article released in 1925 and it lists M.L. Adams to continue in charge, that says there's a chef on hand, there's beach cottages, they've just recently been renovated with new furniture. And then in 1929 there was a picture that shows the 3 cottages down here on the beach and talks about that it had a restaurant and a beach pavilion. So in saying that, we're going to strike out today in search of those 2 items left over from it and just see what we come across, see what's out there. Maybe next time we come, we'll go the opposite way and see what's over that way towards you. But over here is where we're going to be today. So let's get on down that trail, quit talking about this, and let's see what we can find. So back up here is a road that comes into the salt works. Out there where those trees are dotted, that's where we're headed. That's where the majority of the salt works was. You see this wooded area, we're gonna check that out. We're just easing through the marsh. So I think what we're gonna do first is we're gonna slip over to that clump of trees and see what's in that clump of trees, because it's the closest to the open plateau. A lot of sand to cross out here, a lot of marshes. Let's start that way. A little closer shot of the island. Oh, horseshoe crab. We're almost in here. Does look like it opens up a little bit in there. So we're inside the little island of trees. There's some cedar trees, cabbage trees, oh, nice black oak. A lot of debris on the ground. As I'm walking around in here, I see nothing else, nothing to indicate any signs of anything. Why this would still be here when everything else is washed away. All right, we'll move on to the next spot. Keep in mind we're in a hammock on an open saltwater marsh. Let's get you down here. You can hear the airboat out there in the background. We're gonna find our way out of here and go hit the next place. Where we came in and parked at was up there. The highway comes in there. The embankment I told you about is over there. So we're here at that little ridge line of trees, a little hill that runs down and divides it. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's open on the other side. It runs back to the highway. Highway runs down there. That's where we parked. That's the little hammock we just came out of. We're just gonna slip up in here in a couple places and see what we can see. As we come through it, you see another ridge of trees and brush, scrubs. We're gonna just ease around and find a few access points. Now, if you look there, you can see the remnants of old fence posts. Keep in mind that beside this Civil War era salt works, on the other side on Ezell Beach was also large cattle industry that played into that Civil War time. We're going to ease down this line and get off of here and check those out on our way. And if enough time and the environment permits, we're going to try to slip around to where the old cattle pens were. Not sure if they're still standing or not. They were 10 years ago, parts of them remnants. Now this is a salt pool. There's several of these out here. One of them at one time did have some wood left over. I believe was like some walkways around it from back when this was resorts. Don't know that, that's speculation. We should come across a couple more of these on our little journey today. See here on the left, here's another one of those salt pools. I never checked the depth in these, which is odd because I did at a lot of places we used to go. Get some snake boots and some waders, I might come in here and do that. I don't figure they're really deep, honestly. And I don't know if they played in any role in the salt works or not. Could be, I don't know. Somebody squished trap just in a way. So you can see the bottom out through there. And what always seemed odd to me, I've been out here many times with my kids, and even when the tide was way out, I've never seen these completely empty. They hold water, but yet I don't find any trails that come from them, so if maybe it was a spring feeding into something. Not sure about that. Let me give you a revelation of where we're at. We're parked over there. First little line of trees we come to is right there. Second ones we walked through and walk down the path are right there. First little salt pole I showed you is here. This is the second one. We're headed, that was the little hammock we explored. We're headed to those and those on our path over there. We have a little creek here. These creeks are ever changing in this area. That creek might not be in the same spot in 6 months to a year and a half. You know, if you look at the reports of what was found here when it was raided, if those reports match to that, it tells you the sheer size of what must have been here. Now, years ago when I metal detected down here, with the exception of some 50 cow shells that was up closer to the coastline, everything I found that hit on metal was within heads like this. But when you went to digging down where you get the hits, there was also lots of rock. And you could tell the pieces that I was finding had been busted. There's not a doubt in my mind it was pieces of those kettle. I've seen kettle at a lot of these places. We are going to get back down here when I get some snake boots and do a little bit better excavation of the area. When I say excavation, not digging, I guess we're do a little better survey of the area. Today we're just kind of getting a walk around. Once again, we're up inside one of these hammocks. This is a great place for somebody who likes to watch birds or wildlife. Hang on, I'll show you why I'm giving you a little panorama. Got some blackjacks and cedars. Not sure what these are, but they're everywhere with berries. I mean, you got a whole plateau around you. Especially bird watchers. Look at that big old pine sticking up above the rest of them. Got the crook in it. So this particular spot you see behind me, this is one of the hills I was telling you about. Years ago, me and my kids used to come down here, and this was one of them that we metal detected in and found a lot of the pieces of the broken up kettle and rock. Now, as an interesting side note, years ago, in some reading, I'll tell you about this as we just slip up here. We're not going to go up in there until we get some snake boots. A lot of it's covered in grass. If you look around it, you can see the rocks. And they're all throughout it. Everywhere you look, there's rocks underneath all that seagrass. Now, this is most definitely part of something. And as I told you, I found iron kettle pieces in here. You see that hill of rocks? Now back to what I was telling you. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I read, and I don't remember where I read it, it was years ago. I was reading through a bunch of Confederate articles and stuff. And there was a guy that was part of the group that helped set this up and did a little bit of surveying here. And he said what made this so ideal was there were a lot of Indian burials across it that were already elevated that they could use. Now what he meant by that, I'm not sure, and I couldn't find that link. So I don't know, that could be an Indian burial ground underneath it. Walk over and just take one more look at that from the side. You can see it's out in the middle of the plateau. And these dots all over out here. Let's keep on rolling. Let's find a nut. And keep in mind while we walk that just around the corner from the salt works, the Ezell family, I believe it was Joshua Ezell and it was two Ezells, had a contract from the Confederate government for making barrels. We also know Captain James Faulkner's records and extensive research from people that's been done for him that he also brought cows down here. We know he was part of the crew that was protecting the cows and the livestock that was also being brought down here to be shipped out. So we may come up on them cattle pens, we may come up on something, we don't know. That's the fun of it. That's why they call it exploring and discovering. And everywhere that we did hit, we didn't hit them all, but everywhere we did hit with a metal detector, even the spots we didn't dig nothing, there were tree clumps there and rocks. So it makes sense to me, which don't mean much, that there was something in them areas at some time. That's why the ground is still held down and allowed stuff to grow, debris underneath. That's just a guess, but like I say, everywhere I got a hit, and we did all kind of places out here over about a 7-8 year period, was always where them trees were. When I say a hit, I'm talking about a hit on stuff that wasn't newer trash. So let me give you an idea of where we're at. It's way over there is where we parked. Road comes up this way. We've been working our way around the head, kind of hitting all the dotted spots in between. We are headed to that patch of woods across there, and then we're gonna work our way back down and hit all those patches. So I see a post here what appears to be a broken survey marker. Now before I show you this, the one I showed you earlier with the rocks in it was there. Now we're going to come around to right here. Now you can tell this one's been heavily dug in. That was not me. When I dug, we dug and left what we found. And we also put the rocks back. I mean, you look through there, you can tell that's not just lime rock. That's several types of rock there. You can see where it's been excavated in the center. That was another one. As a side note, one of the holes that I did dig the deepest down into, once you got down into it, you found burnt rock. You could tell there had been fire there, hot fire, many times. I bet that's gonna be one right there. Let's see if we can find a path over there. Oh yeah, here's one you can see real well. Let's check that out. Now, to support what I told you, look at that. You can tell that has been in some heat. There's no doubt in my mind this is part of where they did the salt kittles. And all the pieces that we found when we come down here years ago and was looking and put back, you could tell that they had been smashed. They had been broke into pieces. So that supports the theory of what the fella found. I don't use people's names unless they give me permission, but I will post a link to some of his work down in the discussion section or whatever they call it. And if you give me information that I use some of it, if you want me to mention your name, that's not a problem either. Just give me a holler and let me know anybody in the future. Some people are funny about that, so I don't mind either way. So let me show you where we're at just for reference. That's the first one I showed you. That's the second one I found. This is the third one. No doubt in my mind that's one. And that's one. We're going to walk over there. There's no telling how many more may be scattered through here that there's no trees growing in. I get some snake boots, maybe get a couple of y'all interested. We can come down here and do some hiking and exploring together. Not necessarily digging. I don't really take part in that now. Highly illegal. It'd be just cool to see what all we could find. Do a good survey walk through these woods. Let's slip over to this one. You can see when you look at the outline, you've got some trees and things. But what made this such an outstanding spot is that the Gulf here is shallow for so far. So far. Now look at this one. This one's big. Shallow for such a far way out that warships couldn't get up close. They had to come in on smaller ships. And the report that I read, they actually had to park downstream and upstream in creeks and walk into this area to get here. Look at that. Now that tells you how big that spot was. I do suggest, I hadn't seen any today, but when me and my kids was down here years ago messing around, there were a lot of ground rattlers in these piles. Slip up on this and just walk around on it. See if we see maybe a piece of iron or something somebody left. There's no doubt in my mind this has probably been dug too. It's a shame it couldn't be turned into a walking trail or park. All right, there's a piece of iron. Small piece, but it is iron. There's a piece. I was hoping to find no big piece. You can see the trees over the years have grown up. Just imagine being here in the 1860s, overlooking the ocean. At night you can see the other salt kettles firing off. Look at those numbers on how much was confiscated in this area. It'll tell you how many people was down here. just how much was going on. And across yonder would have probably been parts of the Ezell family with their operation going on. It would have been a busy center at the time in this area. Well, I don't really see no big pieces of iron laying out. Not sure what it is, and it may not even be off of this with the storms over the years, but that's some kind of piece of pottery. Another piece of iron. Maybe we'll get lucky and come across something else cool. There's another piece of iron, another piece of iron, another piece of iron. So there's no denying there was something here. One of the pieces that we found down here years ago, my boy Seth and Nathan, you could tell it was the corner of a pot, the way it was broke. You could tell. And you can see there's all kind of remnants of iron throughout this area. Let's see he's over on that side. See what we see. Now, in saying that, when I was digging down here for the pieces, trying to get the metal detecting pieces, I come across a few pieces of flint. But nothing of really any nature. But in saying that, I was knocking down here going all out. I was infatuated with the Civil War history of the area, which was affected by the commerce for the demand of salt. What is that on that rock? That's something carved in that rock. I don't know. That's wild. It's a miracle I ain't seen it. URX maybe, or XJ. I don't know. XJN. I definitely don't believe that's natural. Whatever it is. Chime in. Let me know what you think. That looks like somebody scratched that in there. To me. Alright, I found two things right here that look pretty interesting at first sight. Here's a big chunk of steel. And then here's something that's steel. I don't know, it's ribbed. You see it? That's that. Let's see if we can dig under that and figure out what that is. I don't know what it is, but it's longer or thicker than that knife blade is. And it's definitely steel. Looks like something gear cogs fit in. Well, I can't get it up, but anyhow. So we're moving forward. Let's go see what else we can find. Let's go check out that one. Then we'll come back and hit these. Now the question I always had, you see where these salt works are. Were there streams here that time erased? Was the water pumped in somehow from the ocean? Did they have their own wells here at one time, maybe that were filled in? Pipeline, how did they get the water here? Wagons? You know, I hadn't found a whole lot of written history on that. You hear everybody talking about wagons and different things in these times, but I hadn't really seen something on that. Here's a distant view of that island over here, but we was on a while ago. I call it an island. It ain't really an island, more a little small patch of trees. Not even really hardly worth being called a hammock. I think today what we're gonna do is spend a little more time examining on down and try to work our way to the cattle pens if we don't come across a no trespassing sign. When I get my snake boots and we come back to Stomp Back, we'll get into these little small areas right here. If we see something that looks interesting along the way, like it might be a great spot, we will slip up in there. There's another one of them salt creeks over there. We might try to slip around there. There's to be another little saltwater pool. I don't know why I keep calling them salt pools. Saltwater pool. There's another saltwater pool. That's the one I just pointed out to you. That's the other one. Certain parts of this, if you want to see it, you're gonna have to get off the trails. I mean, that's just all there is to it if you want to see it all. The parts I've showed you so far, you can pretty much get to on dry land as long as it ain't a high tide. But some of the places we're going now, trying to get to the creek, it's a little different story. Snake boots if you got them, and waterproof. Just taking a little random guess. If you look as we've walked, you've seen these hills build up all out here. I don't remember where I heard it or where I read it, but something I read or heard somebody say, I'm not sure, said that this was built up here in several layers across to help hide the salt works. So I figure that's where most of these salt pools come from. They were digging the dirt. Whether that's true or not, like I say, I don't know. It's speculation. So what we're seeing here, if you look as we come across this little ridge, that's a saltwater pool right there. And behind it is two hills. And that appears to be another saltwater pool. And there's another hill. So we're gonna slip around here and see if we can find a way up in there. Here's a little different angle. You can see where it's dug out around it. So it's sitting up on a hill. So we're on the back side of this one, and I can already see a couple of rocks protruding. Now this one don't appear to be as messed with as the others have been. Most of the grass is still on top, but you can see the rocks and the whole hill area. Let's get out here. Now, that's part of that salt water we were looking at on the other side when I pointed this out. We were standing over there. So there's no doubt this is part of the same setup. Let's see if we can get into that one over there, and then we'll go hit that one over there. So this one's heavily surrounded by brush too, but if you look, you can see the hilltop in between the palms. And you can see several areas out there that we hadn't even done. I want to get on over here. So we're gonna step over now and check all that right there out if we can get up in there. And then maybe slip over to the creek. Now, whether it's natural or just the elements of time, you can tell that it starts rising right there into a hill of some sort. This is the scene we come to on the other side. See, that's about the closest the water really reaches up in here. That might be a good place to metal detect, right there. And here we can see a creek comes in. I missed it, I thought it was a little further over. You can see the different mounds that are scattered. So it makes sense that they got that water from here. But the ones that's on the other side of that tree line, there's no creek like this that comes in there. So I don't know if maybe they had a pipe or a channel, or maybe that was a different part of the process that after they refined the salt. Not sure about that. If you know about that, chime in. But you can see that that goes out, and it's kind of hard to see, but it splits there and goes out. Like I said, we're gonna ease down the side, see if we can find any remnants of post or a structure or anything like that. Good sandy bottom. I would say at the deepest over there, maybe 4.5 foot in this bend, tapers up. Walk down it and see what we see. Looks to me like it's gonna go around and tie in to that hill there that we didn't walk up in where it was almost surrounded. So I'm gonna follow it around here. And that's what it does. This creek feeds in. You can see the little dense populated areas with the palms and plants where the salts, something of the salt water was strategically all around it. Makes sense that that's where this side would have got their water. Got sidetracked by this bare patch over here. Might just be mud. I don't know though. Yeah, just mud. It just stuck out at me from over there. Here's another one of these spots. The last one was right there. There's another one over there. That's kind of strange. Like, I don't know, like it won't grow. And it's all right here in relation to this hill. Don't know that that means anything, but be interested to see a soil test. And I can see a salt pool. And it runs around to what looks like it's been dug out on a hill on the other side. Let's see if we can gaze a little closer and see what we're looking at here. I'm not sure if that's a creek. Yeah, it might be. Or just part of it. It's got to run somewhere. See it come around there. Down through here, and then over there. I think I see some kind of survey marker or sign. My eyes ain't that good. We're gonna ease up to it. Maybe this ain't the end of the road for us. And as we're heading to where that post or whatever it is across there, the creek is going in the same direction. All right, we got a bend in the creek. What I seen I thought were post is post. Not sure what it is. We're gonna try to get over there to it. You can clearly see that's post of some sort. We're gonna ease over that way. All right, we made it over here. And there's actually more than one or two posts. There's two on this front, three, and two that we can see. Wish I'd have got a better shot coming in here. But we're right in the bend of where the river comes around, makes its loop, and comes back. Now, unless there were other posts here, it looks like they're narrower on that end and get wider on this end. Not sure if it was part of a bridge, because if you look, that may have been part of the old original road bed. Look right here in the bank. We walked right by that. And you can tell that's debris in that. And we've come over here, and that road goes on that way. So this may have been a bridge at some point. Not sure how old it is. I don't see any lag bolt holes. Maybe we could find a nail. Nail might tell us something. Whatever was used to fasten it appears to be long gone. Just slip around right here. We don't go sinking too bad. Alright, there are some holes through that one. You can tell they've been there for a long time. No telling how long. May have been part of the resort. Surely the resort had all this history around it, had some walking trails. These old posts have weathered some storms. I don't really see a way across right here without going completely around. I want to go back over to that one. So, I believe this to be the same thing. You can see the burn in it. And it is right on the bank. Matter of fact, part of it is falling down into the water. Thought we'd see if we see any metal. And I don't. Ziploc bag. I thought it was a piece of iron to begin with, but it ain't. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what's over there. Let's see if we can get to it. We might not can, but we're gonna try. Down there's where we seen the post, and we're over here, and that is same thing. I'm gonna see if I can find a path in there. A little closer shot. Looks like somebody's cast net hung up in there. Let's slip on in there. You get some snake boots, I'll give you a little more video on hiking. But right now, I'm having to watch where I'm going. I'm gonna step up on it and we're gonna look around. Yeah, isn't it? See if we see anything. That done them real good, I'm sure. Some kind of skull. Or a bird or something. Let's see what that is. Might be a damn snake. I don't know. Now you can see from here, there's still numerous spots scattered. I believe right here next to us, that's what that was. We might try to slip over there. No way to explore it all in one day, but you can hit the highlights and get to the gist. All right, I don't see nothing that stands out. Let's slip on to the next place. I mean, you can see the little iron fragments here and there. Let's see if we can slip over there and see what's over there, mate. That is the same setup. Let's see if I can ease in there. So the trees around this one are dead. There's one growing to take its place. Probably the last spot we're gonna look at today. It's late. Got a long travel back across. There are some small pieces of iron. Look around. Try not to get on a loose sneak. Really see nothing extravagant. And our creek is right over there just before that head. What we're standing on now I believe to be part of the old salt road that come in here. Not much here. It's over to the side of the current road. I don't know that that's what this was. Not a whole lot here. As far as laying on top of the ground. So our journey comes to an end here. You can see today there was something here. You can tell there was something here. You can see the fire burn in the rock. Based on the pieces that I had found here years ago and the curvature of them and the way they were broken, I do believe that this is the right spot. It talks about Warrior Creek and having to park there and dock the boat there and come across land. He talks about a creek on the other side. He goes into explicit detail in his description about how they had to travel over land to get to the salt works. So I do believe that these salt works were destroyed. They may have been rebuilt, they may not have, but I also do know that the same individual who financed this operation, within just a few short months afterwards, acquired an operation further up the coastline. So in my opinion, which is not valued worth much, just based off a few things that I've seen, what I've seen in those pits, I'm kind of thinking that these were destroyed. You seen the stone we come across, that looked like initials or some sort that was inscribed in it. I don't know. Kind of curious about that. Anyhow, I appreciate y'all joining me. Y'all come back next time, we'll take a little trip.